And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Ian, and this is the AutoHub show. And today we're doing the Fixed Ops show because it is Friday, and we have a panel of experts on. We're going to start with a quick clip from last week's show. So this show was about tires and why you should sell tires in the service department of all places. So here we go. All right, so that's a part of the tire show. So if you want to watch the whole episode, it's available wherever you get your video and audio. So let's get into the show. So here we go. And that's the whole trailer. Here we go. So we have a bunch of different technicians from all over the place on, and of course we have our good buddy Joshua from Wrench Turner's podcast. If you aren't familiar with Wrench Turner's podcast, there will be details below in the description. So I thought we would start with just introducing everyone introducing themselves and answering a quick question, which is how you got in the fixed ops side of the business, being that we hear a lot from people on the variable side, but we don't hear on the fixed ops side. So I'm trying to think who was on first. I think Christopher was on first. So Christopher, if you want to start, you can just unmute. Go ahead.
Well, I got into this fixed ops side of working as a mechanic as when I was younger. I wanted to go racing.
Oh, okay.
Then I wanted to figure out how to make the car go, or how the car works, how to get racing, because I couldn't afford it at the time. I like to know how things work, and that's been a lifelong commitment ever since. But then I started as an apprentice here in Canada with local dealerships, and wound up about 7 years working on race cars at a race shop.
Okay.
And when that had to close down, I had to get a real job, and wound up with friends at another local dealership, and been doing that ever since. So
well, you may want to
life out of it now.
You may want to take a look at the episode we did where you had a real NASCAR race car driver who was actually getting into Indy. So he was on the show with our buddy from Steve Dinan's shop, new shop. And he was talking about being a young guy wanting to race cars, and his dad going, "Yeah, I'm not paying for this anymore. You got to find sponsors too. I know you like to do this, but I'm not banking it." It was kind of funny. But anyway, he had some interesting thoughts.
Make a small fortune in racing and start with a big one.
Yeah, well, his dad, I think, was funding it initially and was like, "Yeah, I don't have any more money, man." Like, this ain't happening anymore. You're gonna have to go out and raise some money. So that was kind of funny. So let's go with Brett. What do you think? You're muted, by the way, Brett. You want to go ahead? Go ahead. Go ahead. We're waiting for Brett. Go ahead.
All right. I'll go ahead and I'll step in.
Yeah.
My name is Mike Ramirez. I actually started working on cars 13 years ago as of right now. And I actually went to school for graphic design.
Oh, wow.
And as it happened, man, I had some, my mom actually, while I was living with her at the time, decided she was going to relocate back to our hometown in California.
Okay.
And I decided I wasn't going to go. And I was looking for a job that paid a little bit more. And that little bit more at the time was in the express department of a Nissan dealership. And from there, just kind of tried to maintain pace, like in the express department. But, you know, you make friends. And those people, if they're good friends, they push you to go a little harder.
Right.
And like step your game up, learn a little bit more, you know, give your all while you're there. And I fell for it. And I've been hooked ever since. Definitely every day being around people who are trying to like perfect the craft. I love that part. And initially, I kind of followed in the same footsteps as loving the race cars, loving all of the car stuff. I grew up in a car family. So everything from muscle cars to trucks to, you know, rear wheel drive imports, even front wheel drive imports. It just all over the map. I loved all of it and stuck with it at Nissan for, I want to say, let's say 11 years. I did a little bit of work as a field tech for Nissan North America.
Okay.
And came back to do it again with Honda. So we're trying to get that master status again and do it again. And really, I can't say I have the fire for the cars anymore. So I used to love building cars and fixing things. And now I love helping people like grow in fixing and building teams. So I guess it just kind of changes, but it's all under the same building. So like to rub shoulders with anyone else who is putting in that same effort. And it happens to be all of these guys you see here.
Fantastic. Brett, you ready? You just got to click unmute, buddy, and you're good.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it was my phone was just blowing up, and yeah, I apologize.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I didn't really transition to the fixed op side of things. So my career kind of started out in the automotive world, transitioned over to heavy duty, where I started my apprenticeship, and now I'm a full-time instructor at one of the colleges here. So really enjoying the students and that aspect of, you know, passing on knowledge and getting the students, you know, it's giving them some more, you know, real world experience at the college, that kind of thing, right? So it's been great that way.
Fantastic. And Marshall, the man, the legend, go ahead.
I didn't, you know, well, my name is Marshall, and Marshall Sheldon, and I'm a diesel mechanic, a journeyman, and I worked at several different dealers and across different OEMs, and I wasn't inspired early in my career because I like to fix things or anything like that. I was inspired by necessity. Hey, Larry.
1 second. 1 second.
Yes, I'm CFP.
That's okay.
Hello, gentlemen.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Marshall.
So I was inspired by the necessity of life because you know, my wife had just got pregnant and I had a family to support, and I looked on back then we didn't have phones like we do now, so you know, I was looking into want ads, and there was a lot of mechanic jobs available back then even, and the pay was pretty good, so I started at a fleet shop myself, at a fleet, heavy duty fleet. And I started there as a wash hand washing trucks. And then I just slowly, I wanted to learn, and I worked my way into fixing things. And then, 18 years in, I made a career out of it, and that's kind of how I came up.
Fantastic. And Joshua. Joshua, go ahead.
Well, some of you have seen me for 3 weeks in a row. You probably don't want a whole long run over, but 20 plus years in on around automotive apprentice, technician, fixed director, warranty, tower admin, warranty admin, fixed director at a Mitsu store, GM at a collision center, work with software developers, digital marketers, all around automotive, now full-time with Fixed Ops Marketing with Rick and Russell over there. And it's awesome being able to dive into data and understanding the customer journey online and how that works from start to finish through paid ads and everything else. And so, which is really awesome. And I'm building a community of technicians like you see around, just trying to focus on helping technicians be happier, healthier, more productive through content and community.
Fantastic. We got a comment from LinkedIn, strong beard game, hashtag.
Yep. It's almost a seemingly a requisite to be on part of the Sweaty Leader crew that you got to have a beard game. So there now the couple exceptions are we have a couple of awesome female technicians in the group as well. So they don't need to grow a beard unless they want to.
Fair enough. So obviously you've all had a storied career in automotive in a lot of different areas. And obviously beard products are part of that, I'm sure. But when you're looking at a career, obviously, whether it be from an educational standpoint or whether it be an experience standpoint or getting started somewhere, there you go. That's the stuff. That's the juice. Rock and roll.
Stuff.
And rock and roll. When you start in automotive and you're looking at a career path, whether that be in the fixed ops side and the parts side and management, sales and dealership ownership, whatever. What's your advice looking back on, how you can get there and, what are those steps you need to take as you enter the industry? Let's start with Mr. Ramirez.
I think the most powerful one for me is find a mentor. Know what a mentor is, but don't just find the most available one. Find someone who has goals similar to you. Find someone who's willing to teach you. And I think for me, where I really started expanding is when I realized the mentor doesn't have to be in the same dealership as you. Like I tried to be like a sponge. And that's really hard when you're young because all of us are right when you're young. Just listen, right? Just listen. You're there for help. So for me, it's definitely the mentor, the mentorship. Find the right person, someone that you look up to and someone who's willing to be patient with you and teach you how to ask good questions. That's when my career skyrocketed, I think, is when I realized I was able to admit I didn't know much. And that's when people really pour into you, when you stay humble but hungry. And they love that, and I love the same.
Fantastic. Brett, what do you think?
I think you gotta still have a passion for it too, right? And I think as we go through the trade, sometimes that passion kind of dies off a little bit. But I mean, I see a lot of students coming in to the trade and they're trying to get into it. I think for a little bit of the wrong reasons. They're like they just see it as a money aspect, right? And I don't think that it's gonna last for them just because it's a money thing. You gotta have a passion for it, right? And if you don't have a passion for it, if you're not waking up every day and you're going, I can't wait to. Every time I see a Peterbilt with a long hood and a cat engine rolling into the shop now, I still get excited, right? So for me, I'm still excited. I've been in this for 20-something years as well, right? So passions is still a big thing, right?
Yeah, if you love what you do, it's not really work, even though it is, right?
Yeah.
100% agree. Christopher, what do you think?
I think to make a good career in this, as Abe said, just you got to have the passion for it, and I guess find your passion in that. Like whether it be, all right, I want to do transmission work, I want to do diagnostic work, I want to pick something you can focus on. But as we always like to hammer in, just fucking work hard. Just go in every day, grab every work order, do it to the best of your ability, do the best you can every time. You know, every work order is important, and you know, every job's important, whether it's sweeping the floor, you're doing everything with purpose. If you can't find a purpose in anything you're doing, then you should probably be looking for something different or a different direction. And yeah, the mentors definitely help. I've kind of leaned on one now as my old shop foreman at another dealership, and man, that helps the mental stress at the end of the day. Might tell you you're an idiot, but they're always there to help you, and the sweaty leader groups as well. I mean, again, they might also tell you you're a moron, but it's in a loving way, in a helpful way.
Fantastic. Marshall, what do you think?
I mean, shoot, how do you follow up with that? I mean, Mike and I, we're pretty much on the same page. We do something very similar in our careers. So I think mentorship is so important in our industry. I think that you have to search out somebody, just like Mike said, that is willing to pour themselves into you. If you can find that person, there's a lot of really successful people that have just plowed through it and made it happen. You know, a lot of us had to plow through and learn it ourselves. But now that a lot of us are pouring ourselves into these junior technicians, you know, I'm sure everyone else is seeing it, but like I'm seeing these young cats, they're as good as us in half the time because we're pouring into them. And I think that you've got to find someone that's willing to do that for you. And if you can find that person, you know, you're going to be successful, because if you find somebody else that's successful and they pour themselves into you, you're going, and you stay hungry and stay after it, you're going to be successful. You just, you know, that mentor, lean on them, complain to them, gripe to them, vent your frustrations, let some of that stuff fall off, so you're not coming into work every day burned out. You know, that's going to burn you out, you know.
And we have Larry.
That's what you got to do.
We have Larry drop in. Larry, what do you think about passion for the car business and how you can move your career forward? I mean, you've been a dealer, you've recruited technicians, you've recruited people in various fields. I mean, how does that person build their career in auto?
One sec.
Yeah.
Well, I just got done. I promise I'll answer the question. I just got done training a bunch of dealerships in Dallas.
Okay.
And I always like to quote Thoreau, because you know the school systems are so screwed up. They don't teach anything right. Like they teach algebra, but not how to balance your checkbook. And Thoreau said last century, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. If you get up every morning and go, oh shit, I got to go to work, and you're miserable all day, and then you go home and rinse and repeat, you're not going to get anywhere. So whether you're a mechanic or a dealership owner or a lot porter, if you're excited to go to work, if you enjoy what you're doing, if you feel like you're serving some kind of purpose, you'll be good. You know, there's the guys on this show that I'm watching them, they're excited, they're happy. I know Joshua personally, some of the other guys I've had brief contact with. If you're miserable going to work, what kind of effect do you think you're going to be? And unfortunately, the tech side of this is a little scary, because you guys tend to get the short shrift. They tend to focus on sales when anybody with a brain knows that fixed ops is not equally important. It's more important because the profits are steady. And if you guys don't keep them coming back, we don't get a second chance to sell them. So guys, I feel you. I know the drill. I know what happens when you don't have people that support you, when things don't make sense, when you don't work together. Heck, I know what happens when they don't have the proper oil change setups and tire displays. So I feel you guys. I appreciate you. You know, what else can I say? Because I go through trying to find techs for people. I love guys that actually step in and do what they're supposed to do. Because I'm betting you guys have seen some guys come in all gung-ho and the next day they're gone, which always blows my mind, you know?
Fair enough. Thanks for that. Joshua, what do you think?
Well, mentorship is vitally important. I agree, but I think it's not the first thing to look for, the first thing to look for, in my opinion, is find a high value leader, not necessarily the mentor, because in theory, and this is pure in theory many of the time, because you got to suss it out yourself as a mechanic going into a shop. In theory, a high value leader is going to provide you with a mentor. Whether they are the mentor themselves or not doesn't matter. But the leader, the person that you're going to be reporting to, isn't necessarily the leader of the shop. You're talking about the service manager, your service director, what have you. The most important thing, and I've been saying this for years now, the most important thing about determining your career as a mechanic is the leader that's leading you. If you can't find somebody who is going to go to bat for you, who's going to teach you how to communicate, who's going to teach you how to learn, who's going to teach you how to talk to customers, who's going to teach you all the things that you need to know how to be successful, it doesn't really matter where you work, right? You could be at the highest paid apprentice or mechanic at the shop. You can be the highest paid mechanic because you happen to go to get lucky and get to a Benz or a BMW or an Audi store right off the rip and get a really good wage right off the rip. But if you don't have a high value leader leading you, it's going to be very difficult to determine what happens next in your career, right? It doesn't matter. Like I said, brand doesn't matter. Location doesn't matter. Across the country, across the globe, it doesn't matter. If you don't have a high value leader to work for, it's going to be very difficult to determine the next steps in your career.
I understand. Well, I hear a lot about mentorship, which is great. Maybe there's a question here that I didn't throw in, which is what advice would you give to someone looking for a mentor? Like, how do you find that person? I mean, I hear a lot about mentorship in every aspect of life, but how do you find that mentor if you don't have one? Like, where do you go looking for that? Let's start with Brent on this.
Sorry, did you say me, Brent?
Yeah, Mr. Brent. Where do you go? How do you find that mentor? Where do you go looking?
A bit low, so it's hard. You're a little bit harder to hear.
Yeah, no.
Where do you find that? I don't know. That's a good question. I have an instructing partner at the college now.
Yeah.
And sometimes even I look back on my career just as a technician, and I think as a technician and an apprentice, I think I've learned more from him in 2 years than I think I ever did on the shop floor, right? Over time. I was on the shop floor for a long time, and so it's, and I tell students too that they kind of get stuck where they're at and they feel like they don't have any guidance, don't have any mentorship. I said, don't be afraid to leave where you're at.
Right.
At the end of the day, your ticket's called a journeyman ticket for a reason, because you might have to move around. You might have to go find a spot where you fit, right? And I think, Josh spoke to that in a podcast as well, right? That shop that you're working at or you start at might not be the one you're going to be there for 30 years, right? So find where you fit. And I think if you find a good place where you fit, then you're kind of mentored that you'll find it just kind of falls into place as well, right? So
fantastic. Christopher, what do you think?
That's a tough one for me. I mean, I just kind of stumbled across mine. We just had the same values, same sense of humor, and we went racing together, so we just all kind of clicked. Just trying to find someone that has the same core values as you do. And
that's good advice. Absolutely. I worked with a guy years ago who's an expert in fixed ops. Thinks he works for DRFX now, Fran Milbauer, and he taught me more about fixed ops probably in 3 months than I knew my whole life, just because he knew a lot about it. And I think that's also true when I've worked in retail myself with technicians. It's the older guy on the floor who's been doing it a while. The younger people who tend to be open to listening tend to learn a lot from that guy. I remember working at an Audi store, training some techs, and there was an older guy who'd been working on German cars for years. And he always kind of laughed a little bit with the young techs with the computers. He's like, yeah, I know what that problem is, but I'm going to let him try and figure it out by himself first. And then I'll let him know what he should have been looking for. I thought that was interesting. Mr. Ramirez, what do you think? You're still muted.
I think with the younger generation, like, where are they going to go? It's going to be social media.
Right.
I think it's really easy to, instead of packing up and moving to reinvent yourself in another shop, you can still mix everyday contact with people because they're so reachable now. there's someone out there that loves sharing, loves pouring into other people, like we just talked about, and watching someone else's career grow. And I think that's just where we are nowadays. We have Facebook groups for each OEM, like some actually official, some unofficial. But you know what, man? Like, I have learned just as much from technicians in the aftermarket world, if not more, than I have working with dealer techs. And that's something that where I am now, we pride ourselves on mixing the best of both worlds. And like the goal is to, find those mentors. But like my end goal is to have people want that and have it in under one roof. And you don't have to move your wheels like from place to place to place to place. And you still have access to learn from those people you meet online.
And don't be afraid to go to big shows. I mean, I went to SEMA, and I have to say it was pretty overwhelmed. But I think the next time we'll be better prepared. I mean, you can touch people from every side of the industry in one place. I mean, granted, it's a little bit crazy just because of the scale of it, but guaranteed you learn something from people around the world at that show. No matter what your interest or hobby is or what you do for a living. I mean, there's people from every angle. Mr. Marshall. Go ahead. Go ahead. You had a question?
I was saying that's a beautiful time to network. And I think technicians don't think to network. That's what that is. That's what the learning and mentor is. It's networking.
Oh, 100%. That scale of that show is crazy. But more importantly, you can touch people with every background. Everything from a car enthusiast hobby or a builder to people who sell equipment to people who work on stuff. I mean, you name it, it's all in one place. Plus, you have a whole enthusiast thing there. So if you're into cars anyway, there'll be a lot of people for any side. Marshall?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Joshua's point, ideally you find a place that has a mentorship program already set up. The management team, they understand the mentors that they have available to them, their personalities, and they're able to select an appropriate mentor for that, for that apprentice. Or, if they work them for 90 days with that one and they're not really jiving, they're able to move them over to another technician that's capable of mentorship. But I think that is ideal if you're going into looking for places and you're new to the industry. Definitely, that's the kind of place you want to be looking for. That has something that should be a question in your interview. Like, hey, do you guys have a structured mentorship, apprenticeship, whatever you want to call it? Mm-hmm. That's definitely where you want to be. I knew that when you asked that question, what was going to transpire was a lot of us. We come up in an environment where we just found someone that we worked well with, that we liked, that we jived with, and we just found we're in the right place at the right time. And it's unfortunate, but it is the way it is. And that's kind of why the industry is where it's at, and a lot of us are seeing that was a problem. And a lot of companies are seeing that, not just in our industry and other industries, that they're seeing that mentorship is so important, especially for, collective knowledge and passing that collective knowledge down, industry knowledge. So I think, recap, ideally you find a place that has a structured situation.
Fantastic. And Joshua, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting because I did do an interview with a guy who does 20 groups for car dealers, but I was thinking it'd be kind of interesting to do a 20 group specifically for techs or specifically for service teams from all over the country to get that in. I mean, I don't think anyone's done that, but I think that'd be an interesting way to have different techs network, but more importantly, share knowledge. I mean, what's your thought?
Well, there's a lot of different things about how to share knowledge. You're talking about events.
Yep.
Networking at events. You asked the question about finding mentors and so on and so forth. So to be super clear, in my opinion, it should be part of your interview process as a mechanic or a prospective mechanic where you're looking for your first shop. The questions you should be asking in that interview is, do you have, like Marshall said, do you have a mentorship program? If you don't have a mentorship program, do you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 technicians, senior technicians who will be teaching me? Do you have a shop foreman who I can go to for learning, education, mentorship, leadership, so on and so forth? If the answer to any of those questions or all of those questions is no, it's probably not a great shop to work for as a first-time technician. The secondary portion is probably not a great shop to work for at all if they don't have any form of educational, like internal educational anything in process, because it means that as we'll call it tenured technician, every one of us on this call knows that even after 10 years on the shop floor, you're still learning. And if you don't have other technicians to learn from that are, you can learn from young technicians too, just as much as you can learn from old technicians. And I don't necessarily mean by age, I'm talking about just time in trade.
Right.
If you don't have anybody willing to share knowledge, to swap ideas, to bounce things off of, it's not really a great shop to work for. The culture is probably awful.
Right.
To the second point, you're going to events and learning. Understandably, there are specific learning events. Christopher is on stuff on a regular basis. We love to see it in the group chat where he's like, "Hey, I'm in another webinar," and some of us are like, "I send me the link. I want in on that. How do I watch that too?" So those shared webinars, it's an opportunity to meet other technicians in completely different places. I've been on them as well. Brent hosts live webinars and in-person training where a group of technicians puts in, and he teaches them on site in circumstance, depending on the circumstances, as well as the teaching he does in school. So those are all opportunities to network with other technicians, to get different perspectives, to be able to call on them when you have challenges. To the kind of indirect part of that, the events. You brought up SEMA. SEMA is probably not a great place to go as a technician to learn. It's a great place to go have fun, but there are other opportunities like ASTA, ASTA, like Apex.
Mm-hmm.
There are other leadership opportunities like NCM courses and online courses that you can do and learn and grow and network. It's an opportunity to learn all kinds of different things and travel and understand what else is around, because I find that a large portion of technicians, mostly because we aren't afforded the luxury that salespeople and leaders are, where we're sent to things like events like ASTA.
Yeah.
We don't get those opportunities. So it's very cost prohibitive in that sense.
Yeah.
But when you can find events like that, there are a lot of opportunities, even college opportunities where colleges put on events. I know Brent, I'm pretty sure the college that Brent's part of, I know that UTI puts them on. I know that some of the bigger aftermarket companies like Napa put on major events where you can go for like a full day of training. It's a ticket price. It's a couple of days, in and out and but it's an opportunity to network and grow and learn and all kinds of other stuff. So keeping your eyes open, your ears open, and try to consume as much as you can in that front as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go to Apex, but I will get there.
Yeah,
that's
one of my goals this year. I'm trying to get to ASTA and Apex if I can, and that's a busy fall just to get to those two.
Yeah, well, if you need some thoughts on those shows, I've been to a few, but yeah, my recommendation is definitely be out there looking. I'm sure a lot of career colleges and tech training also do events, not only for probably alumni, but also for people who are trying to get into it, right? So, Brett, maybe you can speak a little bit to that, since obviously Joshua set you up there, but go ahead.
Yeah. So, we've done a couple like lunch and learns type of thing. We're really trying to promote some training that my business partner have developed to go across. He's been doing it for years across North America. Former Cummins trainer, that kind of thing, right? So kind of developed his own. How do you take that product and get it out to the rest of the technicians that aren't available to get it? If you're not in a dealership, you don't get that type of training. So he did a really, really good job on trying and marketing it and getting it out there. So he does a lot more of it than I do. We do have a lunch and learn coming up in April here in Edmonton. We just did the Canada Agricultural Show in Regina, and I learned a lot of neat thing things. Never been to an agricultural show. The agricultural world is very very different than the highway truck world that I come out of for heavy duty. And I did learn that the technician shortage is massive in the agricultural world, right? So if you've got a farmer with a tractor or a combine down, and he calls up the dealer and says, "Hey, I got to check engine light. My combine's in D rate. Can you get someone out here? Right? I got a crop that's got to come off." And some of these dealers are telling them, "Hey, it's a week before we get a guy out to you."
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So it's really interesting. I got to learn how badly the technician shortage is. And then we did get a chance to talk to a few technicians from some of the dealerships around, and they're flat out busy.
Yep.
Flat out 14, 16-hour days in a truck, right? So these guys don't stop, and they can't keep up, right? So
yeah, I was hearing there's Cummins is going to be having a gas engine soon. I was reading an article today. I thought that was really interesting that they're pivoting from diesel.
Cummins. I did attend a networking event last week, Edmonton Kenworth.
Yeah.
So they're really pushing the CNG Cummins engine, and then Cummins does have a kind of an experimental hydrogen internal combustion engine as well. So they've got their new agnostic fuel platform, right? Is going to have all types of different fuels. So it's pretty neat the way the industry's going, right? So, but yeah.
All right.
It's the technology is cool, but I mean the technician shortage is massive, right? So
yeah, I mean obviously if you have a need, and there's obviously people out there but may or may not be able to do it, but the bigger question is, I hear from some young people, not all of them, but that they're looking for something to earn a good living. I mean, obviously, learn to be a technician, start somewhere. I mean, I think you can definitely have a good career there, in my opinion. But Christopher, what do you think?
Well, as for finding all that training, like there's just so much available nowadays. In the last couple of years, I never knew about it. Found some podcasts and was listening to them. It's like, holy crap, where the hell has this been all my life? Being at the dealership before, it's like, no, there's a dealer training and that was it. And you just learned as you went. But nowadays, like I'm probably attending like 40 or more webinars, lunch and learns through Dorman has them, WorldPack has them on Tuesdays and Thursdays for lunches. And there's a lot more business ones as well, which is actually really good for techs to start knowing about. And the business side to make it a lot easier for you. But it's and finding the dealerships or any shop that would send you to those. If they can't, then you can find the free stuff enough. I mean, Scanner Danner's got a lot of free stuff on YouTube as well, and finding the good trainers like that. Kind of no excuse for not knowing anything nowadays and being able to find the resources online.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I was in the retail world and I went to a conference in Las Vegas on my own dime because I wanted to learn stuff. And the dealer, I remember I came back and he said, "Can you summarize all your notes in 2 pages?" I said, "Dude, it was a huge conference. I'm not going to summarize them in 2 pages. And I'm the one who paid for it." So it was kind of funny. But anyway, Mr. Ramirez, what do you think?
Well, as far as like all of this, the training and where you get it from, I'm with Chris. I'm a big fan of like the aftermarket CarQuest WorldPack. And that's coming from a dealer tech because perspective is super important. And I know everyone believes like OEM is the only like the end all be all for all of this information. But the reality is there's some like real live methods out there, and the everyday person uses those and they're more practical. A lot of the times these things are developed for flow charts of failures of certain types, and they're not real world.
Right.
So like developing technicians who are able to like go and seek out those kinds of trainings and things like that. It's something that's super resourceful, and that's kind of where I lean with that stuff. A little more than dealer training is that.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much the OEM and the dealer's going to give you. You got to kind of look and get better yourself, right? Marshall, what do you think? I mean, you know, in the diesel truck game or in the heavy truck game, is there a resource you'd recommend?
I think if you're a fleet or something like that, and you don't have access to the OEM training, at least from our side of the fence, there is several good aftermarket options that have trainers that are from OEM facilities like Cummins, that were trainers for Cummins and are now trainers for these aftermarket outfits. They have, you know, there's several of them. I have one in mind. They do CAT, and they've got CAT trainers. They do Cummins. They've got Cummins trainers. They do Detroit. They've hired trainers from Detroit. So I think there is a bunch of those out there that are definitely worth it. I think you know, not to beat a dead horse. So I think if you're coming up and you're looking into this industry and you just come across this video here, you know, I think that you've got to everyone's point, you've got to use every resource available to you to continue to be the best that you can be. So no matter what you're doing, that's what you should do. You should go out, seek out as much information as possible so that you can be literally the best. I don't go to work to be crappy. I go to work to be the best. And so I try to do that in everything that I do. You know, even you can ask Joshua and some of the guys that know me well, I strive to have the best lawn in the neighborhood. Anything I'm doing, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to research it. I watch videos on how to do my lawn and when to put stuff down, and I teach myself how to put the stuff down. And if you're going to do something, I think you should just go all in. Don't halfway do it. Go out of your way to learn everything possible that you can. And I'm still learning. You would think lawn stuff would be pretty straightforward, but every year I try something different and I do something different, and I'm learning something different, you know. And the auto industry, the heavy duty industry, it's no different. It's just you have to stay after it, you know.
Fantastic. So Josh, obviously learn something different, get better, be the best you can be. I love that kind of stuff. I mean, when I was working retail myself, it was always beating what I did last year, trying to do better in every area and really thinking about the long tail. And actually reading a really good book right now called The One. It's about having a singular focus. And it was talking about people that are successful in life and how they have that focus. And it's actually a pretty interesting book for a lot of reasons. But I agree there. I mean, if you're going to be passionate about what you do, you're trying to get better, you got to invest in yourself, whether the dealer does or not. That's, you know, that person's problem, I guess. But at the end of the day, yeah, you need to get better. I mean, what's your thought?
First and foremost is training.
Yep.
First and absolute foremost is training. You know, reference back to the Registrar's Wellness Survey I did a couple of years ago. Over 500 technician submissions on the survey.
Yep.
It really honed down to, if you want to make more money as a technician in this industry, you need to get your training. Okay, period. And I've shared it, and I'll share it again. If you're a technician in America and you work for a dealership, level 1 brand training complete. So your basic training, however it's phrased, depending on brand, your level 1 basic training complete,
yep,
you're going to make up to 40 grand. There's not a whole lot of exceptions there. You're going to make up to 40 grand. If you got your level 2 complete, your intermediate stuff, you start to learn a little bit about this, a little bit about that. You're starting to get fed some warranty jobs, starting to do some diagnosis and things of that nature. Level 2 complete, you're going to make up to 60 grand US, give or take. There's not a whole lot of exceptions there. Now, the cool bit here is level 3. So your advanced level training, not complete training, your level 3 advanced training. So you pretty much know every system pretty well. You can diagnose most common things irrespective of system. You're a pretty good tech. Most start at $80,000 US a year, and the average based on the survey was 110. So you're talking about almost 3 times more money on average at level 3 than you are at level 1. And the unfortunate thing is there was a whole host of technicians that didn't even have their level 1 complete when they picked out that submitted their survey.
Right.
So primary, get your training done. Once you get your training done, you're to the point where you're on waiting lists for training, like Marshall, like Brent, like Michael, like Christopher. Once you get on waiting lists, because that's all that's there, that's all that's left for you to do, because there's nothing more that you can do. You've done all the classroom training you can at this point. You've done all the online training at this point. It's literally waiting for new courses to come or availability on a course that you know, it comes up once a year kind of deal.
Yeah.
Once you get into that, then you start going out like Christopher does, like the rest of us do, where we find outside sources, aftermarket sources for training online, this, that, and the other. Go to in-person events like Apex, ASTA, and things of that nature. The next part is learning things that have nothing to do with the job itself. Talk about communication skills, talk about leadership skills, learning how to be emotionally intelligent, how to communicate with service advisors, parts people, how to communicate up, how to communicate down, how to lead apprentices, how to lead other departments so that you can make more money. When it comes to being better, the more often that you can hold yourself accountable and look in the mirror, the more often and more likely you're going to make a whole lot more money.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I remember when I first got in the car business and my manager said, don't jump into management yet. So you got a lot to learn yet. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I look back at it years later when I got to management, like, did I really want to do this? I was just stay with what I was doing. Maybe that wasn't the right move. So we're that's
a common conversation that we have in the Sweaty Leader group chat. Like going from apprentice to technician, you know, as apprentices, I'm pretty sure we can all probably have the same mindset while we were, you know, 3, 4, 5 years of training. Like, when am I going to write my license? When am I going to get my CVQ so I can be a full-fledged flat rate technician? Yeah. Or when am I going to get bumped up from the loop bay up into, you know, line tech so I can be a full-fledged mechanic? And it flashes by in an instant. Right, it flashes by in an instant. All of a sudden, you're 8, 9, 10 years in. It's like, oh, what's the next thing? Opportunity to lead. Okay, awesome. Opportunity to lead comes up. Hey, we get blessed with the opportunity. Okay, we're now a shop foreman or a senior technician or a lead technician. Guess what? How many, with a raise of hands, how many were taught anything about leadership before becoming a leader? Notice there are no hands up. Notice there are no hands up. So do not rush into leadership because there is a lot to learn to become an effective leader. And the flip side is, and this is something that not a lot of folks talk about, the flip side is, because very seldom that we're taught leadership, we're also not taught how to handle the burdens of leadership. I think all of us can attest to, after being a leader on the shop floor in some capacity for any length of time, that the emotional and mental toll that is required on your brain and body after leading a team of people is way, way, way more than anyone ever tells you.
Oh, yeah.
Way more than anybody tells you. So you need a group of men and women around you that are willing to help prop you up when those times get tough. And that's why we started the Sweaty Leader group chat. It's like so that we can talk about stuff that isn't necessarily about, you know, even though I posted one in the group chat myself a couple of days ago. How do you fix this? How do you get this window switch out of a 2015 Sonata? That's the technical stuff. That's helpful here, there, and here. Just how do I handle my boss who isn't listening? How do I talk to the person who won't listen? How do I talk to this apprentice who is really gung-ho but isn't just getting the message? Those are the kinds of conversations that you need other leaders to talk to about.
Fantastic. Well, we're almost out of time, so I've got a couple minutes for thoughts from everybody. Let's go with Mr. Brent to start. What are your final thoughts on the service side of the house?
On the service side, well, I think it's what I will add a little bit more to what Josh was saying. I think, you know, when it comes to, we weren't really ever taught on how to be a leader. Yeah, very much so. And then there's some days, you know, I'm a technical trainer or instructor at a college, right? There's some days I don't even think I spend much time as a technical instructor. I spend more time as a therapist, right? And it's insane to think, right? But yeah, and it's the same thing. I get the same questions. How do I go talk to my journeyman about doing this? How do I go talk to management about doing this? I'm having a bad day today because of this happened. How do I handle this, right? So there's a lot when you step into that leadership role that you never thought you would ever be bombarded with. And it's, you know, I look back and, you know, as an apprentice and as a journeyman, I'm like, did I ever go to my leadership with these problems? Probably not. I don't know. Right. But yeah, there's a lot of stepping into a leadership role now is a lot. I think a lot, it's a lot more complicated than I think it ever was. So.
Yeah, I had a service manager who's going to be on last week's show. Said, "Yeah, I can't be on the show because a technician called it sick, so I can't do it." That was interesting. Yeah. Christopher,
yeah.
What do you think? Final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. Yeah, I never would have dreamed I'd kind of be in the position I've put myself in. I've been a shop foreman and you know, trying to have to deal with the stresses of that, but it's definitely changed. It's like being a parent. If you're shop foreman, leader, if you're a service manager, I mean, metrics are slightly different, but it's exactly like being a parent. You've got to deal when they scratch their knee and bump their head and whatnot, and then you've got your kids as well. That's got to handle them just, and then you can to raise them up. You're raising technicians, raising good people. But I've put in the chat there, you know, having the training, it definitely pays. It's an investment in yourself and your career. Do whatever you can to advance your career. That's kind of step one, is backing yourself up with stuff like that. And just having good morals. If you're being a technician today, just do what's right. Do what's right.
Yeah, fixing people is challenging. Definitely fixing people is challenging. Yeah, I remember running a store, and I had people that I was managing both on service and on the sales side. And there was this one gentleman I was managing, and he just couldn't show up on time. Just couldn't get it done. And I said, listen, tomorrow I'll just buy some breakfast for people, figuring he'd eventually learn. But it took him more than 2 weeks. And the owner came down. He says, I love how this guy's buying breakfast, but why isn't he showing up on time? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trying to teach him a lesson. He's clearly not learning. Go ahead, Marshall.
Yeah, I think we say, you know, stay hungry, or, you know, stay motivated a lot. And while everybody was talking, I was thinking a lot about what does that really mean to stay hungry. And we've all touched on it, you know, a couple of times. Each time somebody's spoken, I think what that means to me is you come into work and you're pumped about being there, and you let everybody know you're there to do your job, and you're pumped about doing your job, and you know, you're hungry to learn. You want to learn, because learning, to Josh's point, is how you get paid eventually. So you may be investing that time now for nothing. You're doing stuff on your own. You're doing your online training for the OEM stuff you need to do. You're doing all these things here and there on your lunch breaks and at home, in between bathing the kids. You're doing all these things, but in the end, it's to make more money. Everything that we go to work to make money. Like, you can be passionate about your job, but ultimately we're going to work to make money. And so I think when we're saying stay hungry, you've just got to keep pushing. That's what that means, is just keep pushing on everything you're doing. You're pushing the training, you're pushing your mentors to push you, you're pushing your management team. Hey, I want a chance at this. You're pushing, just keep pushing. I think that's what we mean that's my final thought.
Fantastic. Last but not least, Mr. Ramirez, final thoughts.
Final thoughts on how to build a career as a technician.
Yeah.
I think early in the game, decide how good you want to be. I think it should be the best. I think it should be 1% better every day. I think at that point, like we're talking about, finding a mentor is an investment. All of your extra time is an investment. The training we're talking about, that's one of the most important tools in your box. Networking, one of the most important tools in your box. how you carry yourself, talk to people, build these relationships. It is a very, very overlooked tool. So if you want that longevity in that career and to be happy, the growth that comes with it, you got to be able to put in the hard work, stay hungry, do the hard jobs. The hardest job is going to be fixing yourself, making yourself better every day. Even when everything is smooth and normal and it's a good day, you have to find a way to push yourself or surround yourself with people who push themselves.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it. There will be more details below. If you're a technician and you're looking to build a community and build a network and find a mentor and get trained, obviously check out the Reg Turners podcast. There'll be some more details below. And of course, reach out to the people on the show. The automotive industry isn't as big as you think it is. And most people in the industry want to help each other. So at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And, you know, it's a great career if you're looking into the fixed op side of the house. I think a lot of trade schools and a lot of high schools and even some colleges don't really focus on people in the trades. And I think that's a big mistake. There's a huge demand for people who want to do it, but more importantly, it's a great career. But thanks for taking the time today. I really appreciate it. And if you're at any of these shows, I do a few of them myself. I definitely will check out Apex. I've been recommended a couple of times to go to that show. I was at SEMA. I just never got there. But I will get there eventually. Have yourself a great day and a wonderful weekend. Stay
Thanks
safe.
for having us on, Ian.
No worries. My
Thanks.
pleasure.
Have a great weekend.
All right.